They discovered a shocking prophecy of Jesus that is fulfilling in today's world. Few knew what truly happened that night. The air was thick with anticipation. All eyes were on the flickering lanterns, casting ghostly shadows as whispers curled like smoke around the crowd. It was the night of the new moon in Jerusalem, and an unsettling feeling gripped the people. A prophecy lay buried, waiting to be unearthed. In the heart of those ancient streets, a figure cloaked in darkness moved with purpose. His intentions were clear, but his path was veiled in mystery. What prophecy had he unearthed? The townsfolk exchanged glances, their hearts racing. Could it be the long-awaited sign? The one spoken of through the ages, linking generations to the arrival of their Savior. The thought electrified the atmosphere. Jerusalem, a city steeped in history and spiritual significance, had seen its share of miracles and mysteries. Centuries of hope and despair echoed in its stones. The temple loomed overhead, a sanctuary of reverence and awe. This place wasn't just the center of worship, it was the crossroads of faith, where dreams collided with despair. In that moment, it seemed the very fabric of time shivered with the weight of expectation. As the figure stepped into the faint glow, gasps escaped the lips of onlookers. His eyes were wild, glimmering like stars against the backdrop of despair. He spoke words that sent shivers down spines, declarations that contradicted years of reading between the lines. The prophecy is fulfilled. He declared, his voice sharp like broken glass in the night. Unexplained miracles cascaded in his wake. Could hearts heal? Could barren souls blossom? The unknowns hung heavy, tinged with an electric urgency. Every heartbeat echoed with questions. Was this the awakened moment, or merely a shadow play? Hope appeared like a flicker, teasing with its possibility yet shrouded in uncertainty. What if the man spoke truth? What if he was a false prophet, igniting dreams that would only dim once more? A collective murmur rippled through the crowd, infusing fear with fascination, and then, as if on cue, a piercing scream shattered the uneasy silence. A figure collapsed, hands clutching their heart, eyes filled with terror. The sensation rippled outward, fear festering among the gathered souls. Could the prophecy be tied to this thread? Bodies shifted, hearts raced, breaths quickened. What did this mean for their lives? The stakes were no longer hypothetical, reality bore down upon them with merciless weight. Each person stood torn between belief and doubt, between hope and fear. The air buzzed with tension as the crowd shifted and swayed. Was this prophecy a promise of salvation or a prelude to chaos? And as the sky darkened above them, one question loomed, heavy with anticipation: would the truth reveal itself in time, or would they lose all hope to the shadows? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure from the shadows remained still, his eyes piercing through the chaos as murmurs of disbelief circled the crowd. The man who had proclaimed the fulfillment of the prophecy moved closer, a flicker of determination igniting his fervor. He comes to lead us, to awaken the hearts of the weary and the lost, he shouted, his voice carrying a weight that felt both heavy and electrifying. Around him, the townsfolk reacted with a mix of allure and apprehension. Some stepped back, unwilling to invite the unknown into their lives. Others leaned forward, driven by an instinctual yearning for deliverance. The heart that had seized one of their own lay still. Was this the herald of hope or the portent of doom? The air trembled with conflicting emotions as the tension rose like a tide. In the midst of this turmoil, an elderly woman, her hair silver as moonlight, gathered the courage to step forward. She was known to have witnessed the sorrows of many generations, a keeper of stories that merge with the very stones of Jerusalem. He speaks of salvation, she said, her voice steady yet soft, like a whisper through the ages. But tell us, what do you know of this prophecy? Is it not written that a great leader shall rise among us, one who brings both light and shadow? The cloaked figure met her gaze, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. A leader, yes, he acknowledged, but one unlike any other. This one will challenge even our deepest fears, inviting us to confront our darkness before embracing the dawn. The crowd stirred, their thoughts aligning with the weight of his declaration. Yet, uncertainty gripped them, for the darkness seemed ever present in their hearts. What if he comes only to divide us? A young man challenged, his voice rising above the crowd. What if instead of uniting, he brings ruin? Those simple words hung in the air, an echo of doubt that intertwined with the fragile thread of hope. The moment stretched, and for a brief heartbeat, a unison of fear and curiosity pulsated through the gathering. Know this, the figure continued, his tone now softer, the paths we choose matter greatly. This prophecy does not merely declare an arrival, it challenges us to look to our own hearts. Each man, woman, and child holds the promiser the peril of what is to come. As the crowd digested this weighty insight, the elderly woman spoke again, her voice almost a prayer. Then tell us what we must do. How do we prepare ourselves for this prophecy to unfold? What is our role in this divine tapestry? The cloaked man paused, a flicker of sadness crossing his face. There lies the greatest mystery. To prepare is not simply an act of the hands, it begins within. It requires humility to face our own darkness, and courage to believe that we can be transformed. For in the heart of chaos, light can find a way to emerge. With those words, he turned his gaze upward, where the moon hung half illuminated in the night sky, as if waiting for the revelation to unfold. The crowd followed his gaze, searching for an answer among the stars that had guided generations before them. And for a moment, they stood together, different souls united under shared uncertainty. But the night was still young, and the future chaotic. Those who were afraid glanced at their neighbor, who felt equally lost, and between them, an unspoken bond formed, yet, questions lingered like shadows in the light of hopeful flames. Would they find the courage to confront their individual fears and embrace the promise of change, or would they remain shackled by the weight of their doubts? In the midst of the gathering darkness, the tension began to dissolve, replaced with a flicker of shared curiosity. It was a fleeting moment where hope renewed itself, yet with the dawn still distant, one question remained unanswered: what truly awaited them beyond the shadows, in the fulfillment of the prophecy? The night stretched on, cloaked in an air of tentative possibility. As the cloaked figure stood among them, a quiet gravity settled over the gathering. The townspeople exchanged glances, their hearts fluttering between skepticism and yearning. In the soft embrace of twilight, memories of past promises came alive, filling the air with an electric hush. The elderly woman, emboldened by the wisdom of her years, resolved to speak once more. You speak of light emerging from darkness, she began, her voice deliberate. But is it not our nature to fear the dark? To shy away from the unknown? How do we find the courage to meet what lies ahead without faltering? The figure nodded slowly, the contemplation evident in the lines of his face. It is true that darkness breeds fear. But, dear woman, therein lies the invitation. It is in the act of confronting our fears that we uncover strength we never knew we had. The promise of this prophecy invites us to embrace our vulnerabilities as sacred parts of our journey. As he spoke, a hush fell over the crowd, and the weight of his words resonated within them. Indeed, they all carried their own shadows, each shaped by personal struggles, unhealed wounds, and unspoken regrets. But what did it mean to meet these burdens head-on? Would they find solace or simply more questions? From the back of the crowd, an artist often lost in her own world stepped forward, sketches in hand. Then how do we illustrate this transformation? How do we give form to this promise of change? She asked softly, her eyes bright with imagination. Art has always captured the soul's longing for something greater. What if we channeled this light into our work, into the very streets of our town? The figure smiled, the corners of his lips lifting slightly in approval. Art, like prophecy, reflects the heart of the people. By creating with intention, you begin to bridge the gap between fear and hope, shadow and light. Allow your art to become the reservation for your heart's yearnings. The world is a canvas waiting for its colors. The artist's cheeks flushed as she felt the stirrings of inspiration rise within her. But as excitement flickered in the hearts of many, a voice of dissent challenged them. Is it enough, mere art? The skeptical youth interjected, his brow furrowed. What happens if our efforts bear no fruit? If the dark overtakes the light despite our best intentions? With a gentle resolve, the cloaked figure turned towards him. The seeds of courage often seem small, yet even the tiniest seed can grow to shatter stone. The question is not merely what may flourish from our actions but what lies within each of us. The commitment to hope is often more profound than the outcome. It is a choice we make daily. The weight of the man's words hung in the air, challenging their understanding and expectations. The complexity of faith unfolded like a blossom, intricate yet unified, echoing the rhythms of nature itself. Suddenly, a realization dawned upon the elderly woman. If the fulfillment of this prophecy depends on us, then we must look to one another to nurture that seed. Will we stand together as a community, prepared to face the unfolding journey. As their heads turned towards one another, a murmur of agreement swelled within the crowd. The shared connection pulsed warmly, yet the questions did not cease. They knew the journey ahead would not be easy. Would their bond remain unbroken through the trials to come? Could they truly support one another when obstacles arose? As anticipation stirred, signaling the dawn of something new, they each stood on the edge of discovery. The shadows still lingered, tempting and daunting. In the depths of their hearts, they pondered, would their spirit thrive and prevail against the looming fears, or would they falter when faced with the true nature of their prophecy? What revelations awaited them in the unfolding tale that entwined their lives with the destiny of the world? The hour deepened as the gathering settled into a contemplative silence, each heart a flickering candle in the gathering dark. The cloaked figure stood unmoving, a sentinel of hope amidst the rising tide of uncertainty. In the stillness, the sky above began to change, hinting at the dawning day. Stars faded, and the first blush of dawn kissed the horizon, a gentle reminder that light would always return. The artist, fueled by newfound creativity, clutched her sketches close to her chest, determined to channel the moment's fervor into form. Could we mimic the dawn? She whispered softly to herself. Paint our fears as the night gives way to light. Create murals that tell our story and awaken the hearts of those who pass. The thought ignited a spirit, but soon the shadow of doubt crept in once more. Yet, can we truly be brave enough to display our struggles for the world to see? As if sensing her inner turmoil, the cloaked figure took a step closer to the crowd, his voice weaving through their thoughts. The power of vulnerability transforms. When shared, fear loses its grip. Your struggles are not merely burdens, they are threads in a tapestry connecting you to one another. To expose your truth is not an act of weakness but a declaration of strength. A ripple of understanding passed through the crowd, yet one man, younger yet burdened by skepticism, crossed his arms defiantly. These words speak of unity and strength, but still, we are divided. What of our differences? How can we hope to nurture anything meaningful amidst our disagreements? The figure's gaze softened, and he spoke with the gentleness of a shepherd. Acknowledge your differences, they need not be dismissed. Each of you brings unique perspectives to the table. What if your diversity became a wellspring of richness in your journey? Rather than fueling division, let it cultivate understanding. The elderly woman sought clarity, her voice steady. But how do we navigate our disagreements? How do we encounter each other with grace when our fears flare, igniting conflict among us? Oh, the figure replied, a twinkling understanding in his eyes. It begins with listening. Listen not only to respond but to understand. Empathy is the bridge over which understanding crosses. It takes courage to lean in and allow someone else's experience to challenge your OWN.A. As the crowd pondered this invitation, an unexpected sound broke their reverie, a soft rustling from a hidden corner of the square. A child, perhaps no more than 7, emerged from the shadows, clutching a tattered book. The gathering turned their attention towards him, curiosity peaking, the air tinged with wonder. Excuse me, the child's voice rang clear, a thread of innocence cutting through the tension. What will you do if the light does not come? What if you wait, and what you seek never arrives? Will you stop trying? His question hung in the air, challenging, unguarded. The cloaked figure knelt, meeting the child's gaze. What a profound question, little one. Hope is more than an expectation of a promise fulfilled, it's the act of believing even when outcomes are uncertain. The true essence lies in your journey of seeking, not simply in what you find. The pursuit filled with intended actions, shared dreams, and collective courage is the essence of what binds you to one another and to the mystery of the greater story. As the child engaged in silent contemplation, a collective understanding stirred within the crowd. They began to realize that perhaps the prophecy they held was not merely about future fulfillment, but also about the evolving relationships in their midst, the sacred connection that sustained them through trials. But they were still left with the question lingering in their hearts: would they find the strength to navigate the intricacies of their communal journey? Would they allow their differences to illuminate their path, or would the shadows of isolation and fear bring them to an impasse? The dawn continued to break on the horizon, a promise waiting to be fulfilled, but how would they respond to its light? As the morning unfurled, the first rays of sunlight washed over the gathering, casting their faces in warm light and disclosing the multitude of emotions that flickered within. The child's question lingered, pregnant with meaning, as the cloaked figure rose to his full height once more, his eyes glistening with the wisdom of ages. Children of the dawn, he began, his voice steady and harmonious, each of you holds within the silent echoes of your own stories. Today, step into the light not just to behold it, but to become it. The prophecy you speak of is not simply a beacon on the horizon, it is an invitation to recognize the light that resides in you, the light that ignites the hearts of many. As he spoke, the artist felt a swell of inspiration surge within her. The notion of carrying light sparked a vision, a grand mural depicting their shared humanity, their struggles, and their triumphs both past and present. But one question rose above the others in her mind: what if this light lays dormant within me, waiting for someone else to believe in it first? The cloaked figure, sensing her hesitation, responded with a soft wisdom. Light does not wait for the perfect moment to shine. It flickers in the quiet moments of doubt, whispers in your fears, and ignites with every act of compassion you show to yourself and others. The choice to illuminate the darkness is an act of faith. Then a voice broke through the softness of his words. The skeptical man, arms still crossed, spoke again. But what happens when we fail? When our attempts to share our light only cast shadows of misunderstanding instead? The figure paused, the weight of the question hanging in the air. Indeed, failure is a part of the journey, he replied. It is through the cracks of our endeavors that the light seeps in. Every moment of vulnerability, every heart laid bare, is an opportunity for growth. Consider not just what you might lose, but what you might gain: understanding, connection, grace. As he spoke, an elderly man emerged from the crowd, leaning heavily on his cane. His voice quivered with age yet rang with clarity. But what of the great journey foretold? If our unity holds such promise, why does the world around us seem to fracture? Where is the sign of fulfillment in the prophecies we seek? The cloaked figure turned his gaze upon the elder, his demeanor tender. Great one, you question a truth that resonates through time, the intertwining of prophecy and the sacred choices of humankind. Prophecies unfold not in one grand spectacle but through the quiet persistence of hope, a seed planted in shared soil. You must nurture it with kindness, sustain it with your courage, and allow it to flourish through your collective journey. The elder met the figure's gaze, and in that subtle exchange a spark of understanding ignited. The crowd, witnessing this silent communion, began whispering amongst themselves, their hearts uniting in a wave of possibility. Perhaps they could meet in the middle of their differences, forging a new path that embraced instead of dividing. Yet as the sun ascended higher in the sky, casting shadows once more, the child, still clutching his tattered book, spoke again. But what if the light fades? What if your journey leads you to walls that cannot be crossed? What then? The question swirled around the square, a haunting echo. The cloaked figure hesitated, feeling the weight of uncertainty amongst the people. Recollect this, dear ones: every wall can be a teacher, and every challenge a sculptor of your spirit. Should the light wane, bloom where you stand, drawing strength from the roots beneath. As the crowd absorbed his words, a profound quiet enveloped them, turning their thoughts inward. They began to contemplate their own journeys henceforth. The dawn had brought light, yes, but it also beckoned them to confront the shadows they held, both individually and collectively. With this weighty question lingering in their hearts, they pondered: would they step bravely into the unknown, allowing the light they discovered to guide them through the inevitable darkness? What path awaited them in embracing both their light and their shadows? The unfolding story lay before them, unwritten and ripe for exploration. As the sun climbed ever higher, illuminating the faces of the gathering, a buzz of contemplation spread like wildfire through the crowd. The cloaked figure, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, took a moment to observe those gathered, young and old, hopeful and skeptical, all wrestling with the questions ignited within them. He felt the atmosphere thrum with an unspoken hunger for clarity, for understanding that could pierce the layers of doubt. A woman stepped forward, her resolve strengthened by the shared silence. What if we are not meant to walk this path alone? She asked softly, her voice trembling just like a leaf in the wind. What if the light we bear is not meant solely for ourselves, but for the sake of others? Could it be that our stories, intertwined, hold the key to a greater truth? The cloaked figure nodded slowly, the corners of his mouth lifting in a knowing smile. Indeed, beloved. Your light does not diminish when shared, rather, it illuminates the pathways ahead. In this sharing, you weave a tapestry rich with resolve and resilience. Each thread represents your unique journey, yet together as the whole of the fabric you become something greater than any single thread could ever manifest. Encouraged, voices from the crowd began to emerge. An artisan, her tools of creation still clasped in one hand, asked, if we are to create this tapestry of light, must we not also include the darkness that often stains our story? The disappointments, the betrayals, the fear. Do they not form part of our shared humanity? The figure turned his gaze toward her, understanding the weight of her heart. Or, the shadows are not to be feared or hidden. They are teachers, revealing profound truths when one dares to shine a light upon them. In acknowledging your struggles, you not only validate your own journey but also create space for compassion to flourish in others. The harmony of light and dark births authenticity. As he spoke, the crowd began to share their own fragments of pain and sorrow, the stories that had shaped their existence. Each tale added a richness to the current of the day, a shared history piecing together an intricate mosaic. It was as if they were all suddenly bound by an unspoken promise to walk the path of authenticity together, aware of their fragile light amidst the shadows of their stories. The skeptical man, still doubtful yet intrigued, raised a question that resonated within the assembly. But what if the very act of sharing our darkness leads to misunderstanding or conflict? What if some's light casts a shadow over mine? Can unity truly be manufactured from such a tumultuous combination? The cloaked figure regarded him thoughtfully. Unity does not arise from uniformity. It emerges from acknowledging and honoring the spectrum of human experience. Each light has its hue, every shadow its depth. You may find that in the midst of divergence, beauty lies. Conflicts need not create distance, rather, they can offer profound lessons in empathy if you let them. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. It was a realization that their differences, rather than isolating, could bring richness to their communion. A tapestry of all colors, woven from their collective experiences and stories. Yet even within the growing sense of possibility, the child clutched his tattered book tighter and spoke once more, the weight of his curiosity heavy in the air. But how can we truly trust one another's light in this vast world, where so many still wander in darkness? How can we be sure we are not also part of the problem? Attention gripped the assembly, for his question beckoned a reflection deeper than mere words. The cloaked figure turned to them, his eyes radiant with the wisdom of ages. Trust is the soil in which connection flourishes. It is nurtured through honesty, vulnerability, and patience. Yet true trust springs forth when one dares to believe that even in darkness, there exists a shared potential for light. The challenge lies in whether you will take the risk to illuminate the path and meet others there. As the listeners absorbed his words, the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the square. The questions remained, hovering in the stillness of the moment, intertwining with the stories they had exchanged. Would they venture into the embrace of the unknown, carrying their light with courage and authenticity? What hidden truths might unfold as they intertwined their destinies, their shadows echoing alongside their illuminations? The journey ahead loomed vast, full of promise yet shrouded in uncertainty, leaving them to ponder how they would choose to walk it together. As twilight settled over the square, the cloak of night wrapped itself around the gathering, imbuing the air with a hushed reverence. The cloaked figure felt the pull of the evening stillness, the weight of a sacred moment, as if the heavens were about to reveal a truth long veiled. The vibrant tapestry of their stories shimmered in the waning light, casting reflections upon one another that deepened the curiosity among them. Might we speak of the prophecies? An elder woman interjected, her voice breaking the silence like the first drops of rain heralding an impending storm. We have spoken of light and darkness, yet what of the words that spoke of a savior? Are we not living within the narrative foretold, or are these tales merely distant echoes of a time long past? The cloaked figure's expression shifted, the gravity of a question reverberating in the cool evening air. Or, the prophecies each a window into a different realm of understanding. They hold the potential for revelation, not merely as distant events but as lenses through which you can interpret your present reality. The crowd leaned closer, the flicker of their curiosity illuminating their faces. A young man, with eyes bright with fervor, spoke up. There are those among us who claim that the prophecies of Jesus, especially those of hope and redemption, are not confined to the past. How do we recognize these fulfillments in our lives today? The cloaked figure smiled gently, understanding the thirst for meaning. True fulfillment of prophecy is less about the grand spectacle and more about the quiet transformation within the hearts of the people. Where love flourishes, where empathy emerges amidst strife, where hope arises from despair, these are echoes of the promises once made. It is in your interactions, in your caring for one another, that the essence of these prophecies finds respiration. As he spoke, a ripple of contemplation coursed through the assembly. A woman with a child in her arms ventured to ask, but if we carry this light of prophecy, does it not come with the weight of responsibility? What if we fail to embody the very message we wish to spread? Or, the figure replied, with a knowing glimmer in his eyes. To embody means to be imperfectly perfect. Therein lies the beauty of your humanity. Each misstep teaches your spirit, enriching your journey. Remember, the essence of grace is not found in perfection but in the willingness to continue striving. This journey, fraught with trials and tribulations, is where your faith can truly thrive. The collective breath of the crowd seemed to blend into the evening breeze, a sense of solidarity emerging as they recognized that they were not alone in their struggles. And it was the shadows of their experiences that would guide them to push forward, to unearth the deeper truths nestled within the prophecies that resonate with their time. Yet, amidst this burgeoning understanding, the child clutched his tattered book tightly again, his brow furrowed with concern. But if we are to seek these fulfillments, how do we discern genuine hope from empty words? How can we protect ourselves from deceit? A poignant stillness enveloped the crowd, the question hanging heavily in the cool air, echoing the ancient concerns of so many seekers before them. The cloaked figure regarded the child, appreciating the purity of his inquiry. Discernment, dear one, is the beacon you seek in a tempest of uncertainty. It requires patience, reflection, and an open heart. Let your spirit guide you amidst the voices of the world. Seek not only the appearance of prophecy fulfilled but the resonance it creates within your own soul. As the gentle darkness closed in, the crowd found themselves in a contemplative silence, the echoes of possibility entwining with apprehensive hope. They were standing upon the precipice of understanding, nearly daring to stride into the vast unknown, propelled by their light yet burdened by the weight of responsibility. Would they muster the courage to ignite that hope within themselves in a world often fraught with shadows? What prophecies lay unfulfilled, waiting for their hearts to recognize the light already shining within? The night deepened as the cloaked figure surveyed the assembly, each individual's face illuminated by flickering lantern light, revealing expressions of curiosity, concern, and longing. It was a defining moment where the known blended seamlessly with the mystical whispers of the unseen. In your quest for understanding, the figure began, her voice flowing forth like a brook winding through a valley. There is an ancient promise spoken of joy, peace, and love that many treat as mere words. Yet, these words are imbued with power, a divine spark capable of igniting hearts and transforming lives. The fulfillment you seek may very well be hidden in the simplest acts of kindness you extend each day. A murmur floated through the gathering, each soul reflecting on their own encounters with kindness. Memories surfaced of shared meals, moments of forgiveness, and gestures of love passed between friends and strangers alike. Yet, a young woman, gazing longingly skyward, challenged the atmosphere of hopeful introspection. But how can we be sure that these fleeting moments encapsulate the true weight of prophecy? In a world fraught with division, how do we express a love that transcends? The cloaked figure gestured toward the stars, shimmering with ancient light. Look to the heavens. Just as these stars are bound together by forces unseen, so too are you woven into a larger tapestry of existence. Each act of love, though small, is a thread that strengthens the fabric of the universe. Divisions may appear grand, yet love has the power to bridge even the greatest of chasms. As she spoke, an elder in the crowd leaned closer, his voice trembling with age. We speak of love, yet in a time where sorrow weighs heavy, how do we maintain such hope? How do we nurture it when despair pulls at our hearts like a relentless tide? Hope, the figure replied, is not merely a passive state but an active pursuit. It is cultivated through conviction and resilience. In your darkest moments, it becomes an ember small and flickering, yet remarkable, for it can ignite a greater flame. Embrace these sorrows, let them teach you to soar higher than before. The divine essence that gives rise to grace does not vanish amidst struggle, it blooms anew. In the gathering, eyes brighten in recognition of their shared battle with despair. The clenching of hands, the nods of understanding and invisible unity took form among them, binding their hearts tighter. Yet, a voice, softer yet unwavering, penetrated through. A young child, the same one who had worried over discernment, asked, but what if our love is met with rejection? How do we carry this ember against such coldness? The cloaked figure knelt slightly, conveying warmth and empathy. The path of love is rarely without challenge. You must remember that what you offer may not always be returned in kind. Yet, even in rejection, the measure of love is found in the intent of the heart. In those moments where you feel cast aside, still choose to express kindness no matter how it is met. Your actions may one day awaken something dormant in another. Never underestimate the power of warmth cast into barren places. As the crowd digested her words, a wave of introspection surged amongst them. Could they truly foster love in a world that often returned indifference or animosity? A communal pulse flickered through the air, tension softening into a contemplative murmur, and so, beneath the vast canvas of stars, the cloaked figure whispered an invitation: seek the hidden prophecy of your lives. Embrace one another in love, rest your fears upon shared shoulders, and together, uncover the deeper truth that resides within your spirits. For it is in this unity that the essence of the great promise awaits fulfillment. As night embraced the square, a lingering question danced on the wind, begging exploration. What if the unfulfilled prophecy lies not solely in a singular event but in the collective heartbeats of those willing to love amid adversity? How might their stories weave a new narrative of hope, one that transcends time itself? As the cloaked figure's invitation lingered in the air, the assembly fell silent, their hearts sinking with the rhythm of a shared breath. Curiosity pulled many toward the front, eager to ask questions that had danced in their minds like the flickering flames of the lanterns. Under the gaze of the stars, they began to perceive a deeper world entwining their realistic world steeped in mystery and wonder. Eager to grasp the elusive threads of prophecy, the young woman who had first questioned the nature of love stood again. You spoke of hearts being woven together. But how can mere people, flawed and ordinary, contribute to the fulfillment of something so grand? How do we participate in this tapestry? The cloaked figure smiled gently, her face veiled but her eyes sparkling with compassion. Each of you is not merely a thread but a unique color, a distinct pattern. The perfection of the tapestry lies not in uniformity but in diversity, the richness of your stories, your struggles, and your triumphs coming together to form a masterpiece. Your willingness to share your truth, even in vulnerability, amplifies the echo of the promise within this world. A man, stooped slightly from years of burden, raised his voice, but the burdens we carry can feel so overwhelming. What good are our stories in the face of suffering? How can our individual journeys bear meaning in a sea of despair? With a tender gesture, the cloaked figure invited him closer. Despair, while heavy and consuming, is not an end but a prelude to enlightenment. Remember the seasons of nature. Just as a winter's frost gives way to spring's bloom, so too can your grief lead to growth. It is in your darkest hours that transformation often begins. Allow your pain to speak. Through it, you may discover resilience, and your experience may light the way for others lost in similar shadows. The crowd absorbed her words, each person reflecting inwardly. Yet another voice broke through the murmur, a gentle call from the back. And what of faith? When the world we see is rife with chaos and hurt, how do we keep faith alive within us? What does it mean to believe in the promise? The figure paused for a moment, a silhouette stuck against the canvas of the stars. Faith is like the roots of a great tree. Hidden beneath the surface, it nourishes and sustains you, even when storms rage above. It is the silent knowledge that every moment, no matter how dimly lit, has its purpose within the grand scheme of existence. And this belief can be shared, it becomes a beacon for others searching in the dark. A ripple of understanding flowed through the crowd. They began to see themselves not only as bearers of their own burdens but also as vessels carrying the light of faith to one another. Yet, concern still lingered in the heart of the assembly. A voice trembled as it asked, and what if that light should flicker or fade? What if our journey leads us into deeper darkness? In such moments, the cloaked figure replied softly, take comfort in knowing you need not bear the weight alone. Lean into community, lean into love. Each ember from your heart can become a kindling to another's flame, rekindling the hope that may have dimmed. In unity, your faith can evolve and deepen, nourishing the very roots that will sustain both your lives and those around you. The conversations began to spark anew, fires of hope igniting in the hearts gathered. They shared their stories where love had flowed and flickered, where despair had lifted and settled, and in sharing, they wove a stronger fabric together, one that affirmed their strength and resilience. As the night stretched onward, the stars twinkled with the dreams of those below, whispering promises of what could be. The cloaked figure, sensing the glimmers of renewal, turned her gaze to the ever-expanding skies. There is a prophecy inscribed in the cosmos, one waiting for discovery in your kindness, in your unwavering hope. The unfolding promise resides in the connections nurtured through love, suffering, and shared faith. What remains, fellow seekers, is to ask yourselves, how can your individual stories weave together to create a legacy of grace for generations yet to come? As the hours passed and the stars dimmed to the first blush of dawn, the crowd stood entranced beneath the unveiled truths of their own hearts. A pregnant silence hung in the air, an expectancy that vibrated like the whisper of a breeze. The cloaked figure, sensing the shift among them, took a deep breath, her presence radiating an undeniable warmth that wrapped around each individual. Children of the dawn, she began, her voice gentle yet resonant, the prophecies you seek do not merely reside in ancient scripts or distant voices, they live within the very essence of your humanity. They are echoed in the laughter of a child, the kindness of a stranger, and the resilience each of you carries in your daily lives. The divine is not confined to the pages of history but is woven into the fabric of every moment you embrace. As her words were absorbed, they began to ripple through the crowd, igniting a spark of recognition. An older man, his eyes glistening with tears that reflected years of sorrow and joy, stepped forward. But how do we act in faith in our daily lives? In these simple moments, how do we breathe life into the prophecies? With a knowing smile, the cloaked figure responded, faith is born in the mundane, the choices made in kindness when no one is watching, the compassion extended to those in need, and the resolve to seek light amid darkness. Each act, no matter how small, is a response to the divine invitation waiting for you to enact. And in those choices, you become the living fulfillment of every promise written upon your hearts. The crowd began to murmur, the enormity of her message settling within them. Each saw that they were not momentary echoes but living testaments to a prophecy waiting to be fulfilled through their collective actions. A young woman raised her hand, her voice shaky but filled with intention. What if we stumble? What if we fail to live up to this calling? Or, the figure replied, her gaze penetrating yet soothing, failure is as much a part of the journey as success. It is within the crucible of our failures that your greatest revelations often lie. Embrace them as teachers, as sacred moments revealing the depth of your capacity to rise, to adapt, and to love once again. In acknowledging your flaws, you pave the way for vulnerability and offering that can invite others to do the same. Emboldened, another voice arose, filled with a sense of awakening. So, are we truly destined to carry this light? Is it our sacred duty to reflect the love and hope that we wish to see in the world? Yes. The cloaked figure's enthusiasm infused the atmosphere with energy. It is your sacred duty and a privilege. The light you embody is a gift, and in sharing it, you illuminate paths that may have been shrouded in shadows. Understand, the world you inhabit is forever altered by your light. Still, in that light, learn to honor the shadows of others as well. Like the dance of night and day, they are both necessary and intertwined. Your fulfillment of the prophecy lies in weaving them together. As the dawning sun broke the horizon, casting golden hues across the gathering, a palpable transformation washed over those present. They began to see not merely individuals gathered in the square, but an interwoven tapestry of souls bound by a shared purpose. In their eyes sparkled a new determination, their burdens no longer isolated but communal threads in a grand design. A child, standing at the front with wonder in his eyes, spoke softly, "Will you remember us when you leave? Will you carry our light with you?" The cloaked figure knelt beside the child, cupping his face in her hands. "You will always be remembered, little one. Just as every star contributes its brilliance to the sky, so too will you and those here contribute your light to the world. You need not worry about the distance, who are all woven together in this divine tapestry, each thread connected to each other, regardless of where we may roam." With her words, an understanding rippled through the assembly, a realization that their connected paths stretched far beyond that moment. They were more than individuals seeking prophecies, they were a community, rising like the dawn, ready to live the beautiful promise that lay before them. As the last remnants of night slipped away, a chorus of voices rose, harmonizing with newfound resolve, "We will carry this light. We will embrace both our shadows and our joys. We will share our burdens and our stories, weaving the sacred tapestry of our lives." And in that moment, it was as if the very heavens whispered back a resounding agreement. The cloaked figure stood, her heart swelling with pride and hope for all gathered there. Remember, the power of prophecy lies not in the events foretold, but in the choices you make each day. You are the fulfillment you seek, living proof of the love that binds humanity and transcends the ages. Go forth now, and let your light shine brightly. For it is in this collective journey, united through every shadow and beam of light, that the prophecy of your lives will be fulfilled. As the sun rose high above Jerusalem, illuminating the faces of those gathered, they stepped into the streets with hearts ignited, not just as witnesses to a prophecy, but as living, vibrant embodiments of love set to resonate across a world thirsty for hope. And the echoes of their journey would ripple through time, inspiring generations beyond their own, a testament to the power of community, faith, and the transformative light that each soul carried within. Each one a thread, together weaving the intricate fabric of a shared destiny, eternal and unfading.